All right, so we can go ahead and I think get started here. So again, for the folks that have just come in, my name is Andrew Weber. I'm the Director of Insights over here at Takemetrics, and I'm joined by Sydney Ortega, who's our DSP lead. Sydney had a bit of a camera issue, so I'll be going off camera kind of after we get through these intros. But I know Sydney's super excited to talk about this, and again, really with Prime Day now in the rearview mirror officially. We thought this was a really good time to, think about, if you haven't already, using DSP to extend really the what you as a seller get out of Prime Day, right? Are there things you can take out of Prime Day? DSP is a great way to do this. Is leveraging that activity you saw during the sale event to remarket, to do some additional audience building, and really extend the usefulness of that just very time limited sales event to actually a broader time frame. So I know we've scheduled an hour for this webinar. I would say that it's likely going to take less than that, even with questions. So just give you some time back. But again, speaking of questions, at any point during the presentation, you'll see your question box at the bottom of the screen. Please, enter a question in at any point whenever it pops into your head, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation as well. And additionally, you'll be receiving a recording of this presentation roughly 24 hours following the webinar. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be the recording and the slide deck, so you can kind of review them at your leisure. So again, really excited to get started. So with that, let's get right to it. So a little bit about Takemetrics, if you're not familiar with us. So we're a technology platform, and we pair that with a large team of expert analysts, and we're helping thousands of brands, some of what you see here, grow their sales on Amazon and Walmart. And what we're really focused on is advertising is a lever for that, but it's about your total sales. So we're really focused on again, growing your entire business, not just your ad sales. And it's a reason why we're trusted by more and more of these brands like you see here. And just really excited again. If you obviously want to learn a little bit more about us after the presentation, you can head over to takemetrics.com and check it out. But just giving you some information there before we get started. Okay, so let's get right to it in terms of an agenda. So first, we're going to talk through use cases for Amazon DSP, specifically around Prime Day or the post-Prime Day period, right? How can you leverage it as we are now out of Prime Day and you're kind of looking towards back to school and even Q4, really at this point, if you're looking even further out, what are ways you can leverage it in the interim to really make hay out of all the activity that occurred on Amazon. And then we're going to get a little deeper, talk about specific targeting options to support your goals and what those look like. Sydney's going to go into that in more detail. And similarly, okay, let's say you're thinking of kind of getting into DSP and dipping your toe in there. What should be your key considerations as you launch this strategy? Kind of point by point, what things you should be thinking about as you scale. And then we're going to look a little bit more broadly about what you're likely doing on Amazon already, right? You're likely already running some kind of sponsored products campaigns, maybe sponsored brands. How should you think about Amazon DSP in the context of all the other things you're doing on Amazon? So we'll talk through that a little bit to hopefully again give you a little bit of extra context. And then finally, we're going to wrap up with Q&A. And again, please enter questions at any point during the presentation as we're going. Okay, so let's talk through use cases. So what is Amazon DSP as a whole? What does it help with? So the first is shopper re-engagement. This is something I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, just retargeting, right? Someone viewed my PDP or clicked my ad, like how am I going to retarget them, right? Other places where I'm going to show them that product. You can also expand your reach to new shoppers, right? DSP is a great way to kind of, again, expand your reach just beyond Amazon search, which is, if you're doing sponsored products, sponsored brands, right? That's where your ads are showing up. Instead, you can expand your reach across other areas of Amazon and then off of Amazon as well. And finally, kind of using this audience-based targeting, which Sydney's going to talk through in more detail, kind of for display advertising around the web. So these are kind of broadly what Amazon DSP helps with, but let's go into more detail in the context of Prime Day And Sydney, I'd love to hand it off to you here to kind of talk through these use cases, maybe a little more broadly, and we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, for sure. So I hope everyone, like Andrew said, had a really good Prime Day. Hope you guys have recovered, had a glass of wine. I know how stressful it can be, but it's not over. The beauty with DSP is first and foremost that it's all audience based. So even if you weren't running DSP for this Prime Day, you can run it and still capture all of that audience data and the uptick you guys probably saw in your impressions and clicks and engagement. And that data doesn't go to waste. And DSP is one of the ad tools that allows you to kind of hone in on all of that data. Like we briefly mentioned earlier, re-engaging shoppers who have browsed your products during Prime Day. So this was probably a good time again where you saw impressions uptick, clicks uptick, et cetera, a lot more people on your PDP page. And, maybe they bought a competitor product, maybe they just discovered your brand on Prime Day, but they're in your audience now. So what better time to now go after them, either with brand awareness, brand education, et cetera, kind of gearing up for, the big Q4. Conquesting direct competitors or similar products. Again, going after your competitors saw probably a very similar uptick than you did. So why not go after all of those people and all of those competitors that have similar products or even complementary products? Let's say, I just use this easy example of if you are a mattress company, let's say you're selling mattresses on Amazon. Well, what do you need with a mattress? You need pillows, you need sheets, you need blankets, you need all of that good stuff to really make up a bed. So start thinking about your products that way, not just a one-time sale, but really how the consumer at the end of the day is really using your products and expanding your reach. Again, DSP is audience focused. So I always like to say there's a lot more creativity that can go into targeting rather than just targeting specific keywords. So these are 3 things I just want you to start thinking about. And again, there's a lot of creativity that can happen here. So we are keeping this pretty top level, but just start thinking about your product, who your target consumer are, and how people really use your products in their day-to-day life.
Great. So let's kind of go into those targeting options a little bit. I know, Sydney, you can kind of walk through these. As you mentioned, we're going to go through it a kind of a high level and then show you some examples about kind of what this looks like in the wild.
Awesome. So a couple different types of retargeting and terminology you'll hear, whether you're a seasoned DSP or you're new to DSP. These are terms that you should probably get a little bit familiar with. So pixel-based remarketing audiences, this is probably the most intricate out of all of them. And I don't want to say outside of the box, but not typically our norm, but it is good. So you're able to put a pixel on your homepage, on your checkout page, on your D2C site, and we're able to use that data to then remarket those customers that have gone to your D2C site with an Amazon ad. So a lot of people like to use this because you guys probably have really good traffic going to your D2C site, email lists, all of that good stuff that you guys have been working hard on that side of the business. And it's a way to kind of bridge that gap from D2C to Amazon. So putting a pixel is really great to use there. Another way that I was just talking to Andrew with, which I'm really excited about DSP, is Amazon Live. Whether you're a small mom and pop shop or a larger big box retailer, it doesn't matter. Amazon Lives are great, and there's tons of different packages that you can utilize to get a spot on Amazon Live, but you're able to get a targeted and a customized remarketing list after that live goes. After that live ends, excuse me. So you're able to use that list and remarket to those people that have not only gone to your PDP page, but have actually watched your video, which is huge. And that audience never goes away. So you're always able to use it. And just speaking for me personally, if I'm going to watch an Amazon Live, I'm pretty invested and I want to know more about that product. So it's a really good audience to have in your back pocket.
Yeah, and I think if I remember correctly, Sydney, kind of the cutoff for that, right, was like as long as the person's watched 5 seconds of the video, they'll be kind of included in that audience, correct?
Yeah, exactly. So no matter if they watched it for 3 seconds, 5 seconds, or actually watch the whole thing in the entirety, they'll be lumped into that remarketing audience.
Great.
Yep. And then product remarketing audiences. So again, this is kind of like the cream of the crop when we're talking about remarketing, retargeting shoppers who have viewed your promoted products but did not convert, right? These are like your key people. For whatever reason, they came to your PDP page through probably a sponsored product ad or something like that. So they actually typed in that keyword, went to your PDP page, and maybe they had to jump into a meeting or something happened and they abandoned their cart, but they're interested, right? They showed intent. So you want to kind of give them a little nudge, maybe 7 days after, 30 days after, to be like, hey, we saw you looked at our product. Are there any questions we can answer, et cetera? And it's just to get that, that reminder out there to them. The beauty with this, I get a lot of questions. Well, isn't it annoying to see so many ads? If I view the product and I didn't purchase it, it probably means that the consumer doesn't want it. That's not the case. And there's so many safeguards that we could put in place on the back end to make sure we're not over serving that customer. So maybe they only get that nudge once every other day. Maybe they get it 3 times a day. It's all dependent on your product and what you want that cadence to be. But I know that's not a pain point, but a question that I get a lot with remarketing. And then brand remarketing audiences is the last one here. So retargeting shoppers who viewed other products of your brand but did not convert. So we're able to actually, in the back end, when you're doing DSP, let's say you have 100 products in your portfolio and maybe you only put DSP dollars to 5 of those products. We can actually lump in your whole brand as a total and say, hey, anyone who has bought any one of your products during the last 365 days, let's use that audience to maybe re-engage them with a new product or a new flavor launch or something else that you guys are doing that's creative to the brand. We could bring all of that into DSP as well. All right, now getting into the nitty gritty of the different targeting options. So we talk a lot about audiences, and those audiences are broken out into these 4 main topics here. So in-market audiences, this is kind of, you're thinking about a funnel, right? This is probably your mid-tier. So reaching shoppers that have shown an interest in purchasing certain products. So these audiences are pre-built by Amazon, and they're looking at the last 365 days. So they're looking at what you've purchased, what reviews you've read, what other products you were interested in, et cetera, and putting you into these in-market audiences. I'll use myself as an example. I love working out, I love eating healthy, and I also have cats. So those are 3 different categories, right? I get remarketed for cat food and cat toys all the time, but I also get remarketed and I get put in these audiences for fitness gear, working out at home, et cetera. So not everybody is going to fit into one perfect audience. And it's also a really good way to just discover what your customers are also interested in. Going back to search, right? That's very keyword focused. It's very targeted. It's very, very specific. With DSP, you could unlock a lot of potential that you're not tapping into by looking at all these other audiences. And you'll figure that out by reporting and insights and all of that good stuff that comes along with launching DSP. Contextual audiences, you could think about this like organic, right? You have paid advertisement and organic advertisement. Contextual audiences are reaching shoppers that are viewing a specific product or a list of products. So this can be pretty customized, but again, it's whatever is contextually on that page that they're looking at, whether they're in aisle on Amazon, on the PDP page, whatever contextually is there is gonna pick up and put them into these specific audiences. Lookalike audiences, reaching shoppers who look similar to shoppers who purchased your brand, right? This is going back to my example of myself. I may look like somebody that might be interested in a set of dumbbells because I've purchased X, Y, and Z before. So again, just thinking broader into targeting, and you may think you know your target audience on Google, on Bing, but you might not know it on Amazon, and you're able to layer in all of these different audiences to kind of branch out a little bit. And then similar product remarketing audiences, this is very similar to the carousel that you see on Amazon.com, whether you're on the PDP page, et cetera. You're reaching shoppers browsing for similar products to yours. So you'll see an array of different products, right? If we go back to that mattress example, maybe you will see sheets or pillows, different mattresses, mattress toppers, etc. And that's all being built through the algorithm and just based on all the data Amazon is collecting throughout the whole entire year. Awesome. So here is a targeting example. So you could see I have here the LMS Pro Collagen Cleansing Balm. This is in the beauty category. And if you could see, we put a red box around the targeting with the carrots. So if you read it from left to right, it's going to go from most broad to more granular. So a lot of people are like, well, where do I start? What audiences do I go after? I mean, Amazon is actually giving you a good jump start. The hierarchy of your product, and that's how it's grouped and laid out on Amazon. So you could easily start here. And then the screenshot to the right is, this is within the DSP portal, so you're not gonna be able to see this as an advertiser, but if you do run with us, this is how we kind of pick different in-market audiences, lifestyle audiences, et cetera. So we'll use kind of that carrot to the left and that hierarchy to the left, and then find similar audiences in our portal. So you can see here, I typed in skincare. So you could see skincare tools, sun and skincare, baby skincare. So again, baby skincare might not relate right to this LMS product because this is for adults, this product, but as a woman and maybe a mom, if I'm buying this product, maybe I'm looking for baby skincare too. So you could kind of see where I'm going with, you may know your target audience, but there might be other nuggets to uncover. And then the last screenshot on the bottom, this is your product details. So if you're on your PDP page and you scroll kind of midway down, you'll see these product details and you'll see the bestsellers rank. So you'll see where you're ranking, for this example, if you're LMS in beauty and personal care, they're ranked 8,374. And then you could see other top categories where you're ranked. So there are 249 in facial cleansing products. So I'll probably want to pull in that facial cleansing product audiences too. So the main point here is to really just get you guys thinking, right? You may not know a lot about audiences or DSP, but Amazon and the way you guys are structured as far as the hierarchy goes is pretty much given to you. So you kind of have, a leg up here and a starting point when you're thinking about audiences.
Great, thanks, Sydney. Yeah, it's some great stuff there. And let's kind of go through as so Sydney just went through obviously a lot when it comes to the nuts and bolts behind targeting on DSP and how you should be thinking about it as an advertiser. But let's go into, okay, well, you're going to set a strategy. Especially in the context of post-Prime Day, what should you be thinking about? Questions you should be asking yourself as you set strategy and kind of, right, that should inform your approach. So, first one here is, are your products low or high consideration? There's a difference in terms of your general strategy, right? Let's say if it's a high consideration product, let's say like price plays into this, but for instance, like a laptop or a computer, right, where there's going to be a lot more high consideration purchase decision, right? It's the likelihood that someone, let's say, 100% converted during Prime Day is actually like much lower, right? Than with a lower consideration product. Let's say something again that's like lower price, like a coffee mug, for instance. Folks that viewed those during Prime Day, right, are more likely to convert. So your potential window, let's say, to convert those exact same shoppers, right, may be a little smaller. So you maybe think from a remarketing perspective, there's differences. When you're a high consideration product, there's likely more value potentially to during some remarketing here versus a low consideration product where you may want to use DSP again to build out those audiences for future, but a direct remarketing may be you may just want to think about that one. And I don't know, Sydney, I mean, feel free to jump in with anything else here.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Again, this is all very high level, so just want to get you guys thinking about your products and different ways you can use them. You know, the one big thing here, and especially just coming after this Prime Day, you know, I've worked with a lot of my clients for a couple years now here at Takemetrics, and you know, honing in on DSP is a long-term play, meaning you have to have budgets in place. It's not really a day of type thing. And we got, for some of my clients, got a lot of incremental. They're like, let's capitalize on Prime Day. Let's do it now. We're in like the 12th hour, and it just takes time, right, for the system to ramp. So while we got all of that incremental and we saw sales growing and we saw great performance, we weren't able to capitalize as much as we could or wanted to, just because DSP is that long-term play. So I just really want to encourage you thinking about your products. You know, even with, it's crazy to think, summer just started. It's beautiful here in Boston, but we're already starting to think about holiday, right? So just really being able to plan ahead. Right now is like the perfect time to test DSP and run a test to see what's working and what's not working. So you're really ready to kind of hit that gas and scale when, you know, maybe back to school happens or that Q4 period.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, again, you can kind of read through each of these here, but right, each of these, as Sydney mentioned, right, all those different targeting options you have. These questions, as you answer them for yourself and maybe add some others that you think of, should really inform, okay, like, right, as you ramp, you're going to learn different things. If you get started with DSP, to Sydney's point, it's a long-term play, and it's not something that, you know, it's something that you should go into with a long-term, you know, strategy. This is going to help you kind of place those guardrails where you need those guardrails to be. The budget question here on number 4 is a big one. I mean, we've talked about this before. There is a pretty sizable minimum budget requirement to do this self-serve on Amazon. If you work with a provider like us, you can get in at a lower amount for that budget minimum. But that's definitely, you know, something to consider. Remember that these ads are purchased on a CPM basis or an impression level basis rather than CPC, like you might be used to with Amazon. So there's kind of, again, the way you would, you know, calculate the potential cost for that is going to be a little different. So just keep that in mind. And we'll go into these use cases in a little bit. I think, you know, let's talk about this. And I think, you know, this is something that you were getting at, Sydney, was that DSP is a long-term play. And because it takes time to ramp up, in a way, it can kind of, it helps to get in early, and then it's going to help you look at events down the line that are important for your business and be in that much better position. So, right, we talk about always on retargeting. That's obviously an easy one, right? And escalators during key periods, right? So Prime Day could be one. The holidays would be going back to school, again, depending on your business. What's your you know, key time frame? But as you see demand, as you kind of get in front of folks, it allows you to kind of learn, okay, which audiences are performing best, and you can then much more confidently say, yes, this is where I want to place my budget. This is where I want to get more aggressive. And Sydney, you brought up this point, which I think is a really great one, which is for every business, right, you're going to have smaller events throughout the year that are important to you, right? Maybe it's back to school, maybe your seasonal product, and there's certain, you know, before a certain holiday, you see traffic go up pretty dramatically. Know your tentpole events, and then DSP can help you maximize that. Again, get in early, learn what audiences are working, and then, you know, go full bore. I don't know if Sydney have anything to add here.
Yeah, no, I think that was perfect. But again, just thinking about your brand, you know, even aside from the tentpole events like Mother's Day, Father's Day, Halloween, 4th of July, I mean, there's so many. But, you know, even just looking at your brand and your products and what special key events you have. Do you have a new product launch? Are you launching, you know, a new colorway or a new flavor or an upgrade to a product? All of those things, you really need to take a look at your 12-month calendar and start planning out. And, you know, when you're talking about their traditional tentpole events, let's take Prime Day. This past Prime Day, I was encouraging my whole team and all of my advertisers that I oversee, you know, obviously start early. We knew Prime Day was going to happen in June. So in May or even earlier, start putting dollars against those in-market audiences, those mid-tier audiences to really grow your remarketing pool. Start early, get eyeballs on your PDP page, and start thinking about your products. Like maybe your product is a toothpaste, right? People don't really think too hard about what toothpaste they want, but maybe it's a higher price point item. It's like an air purifier or something like that. Maybe the consideration period is a bit longer. So all of that all goes into play with your DSP strategy, but we're here to kind of help you and guide you and work through that. But all in all, there is, you know, a blanket strategy that everyone can use. You want to start growing that remarketing pool and starting broad early. And then as it gets closer to that tentpole event, you're going to kind of switch gears and switch budgets and put the gas on remarketing. So right now you're going to want to remarket people, remind them that you guys have deals going on, etc. And then even after, I said before that just because Prime Day is over, it doesn't mean that all those impressions and all that data and all those maybe potential new customers went away. They're still there. And they're still waiting for you to like really capitalize on them and retarget them. So, you know, whether you want to grow your subscribe and save or, you know, lifetime value of that customer or whatnot, it's still all possible when that tentpole event ends.
Yeah, no, you kind of brought this up, right? But the tentpole event can be, right, internal, external. External in the face of whether a minor holiday or otherwise or season, or it's for you internally. You're launching a new product, you're debuting a new package type, and DSP helps you broaden your reach there. I mean, keep in mind we've talked about this a lot, right? That the flywheel of Amazon is really built on conversion volume and conversion rate, and DSP, especially for as you on the new product side or new package size, you know, you have to build up a history for those items. So obviously conversions, but reviews come and that helps you long term. So DSP can again be very additive in that way of providing, especially these newer products as one case, with the type of volume that can help it organically, right, weeks and months down the line. And you talked about this earlier, Sydney, but I think it's very, very important. Is right, Amazon Live, and how this interacts kind of with DSP, right? How you can use the folks that view Amazon Live, you know, as a DSP audience. So, I mean, this is incredibly impactful. These are folks that again are actively engaged with what you're doing there. And obviously there's still, you know, some barriers to entry, obviously getting started on Amazon Live, but Amazon has done, you know, a lot of things recently to make it a little bit easier for brands to get started there. I think, you know, the other thing to keep in mind too is that Amazon, this is obviously a priority for them, Amazon Live. So I know this is kind of, this is more Amazon DSP focused webinar, but I think it's worth pointing out in the context of Amazon Live that we're definitely seeing Amazon go very hard for this. They view this, I think, strategically as a major point for their platform kind of going forward over the next months and years. So I just recommend if you have the ability to kind of look into this, maybe get started with Amazon Live, test it out, it's going to be of benefit because you can tell strategically they're putting an emphasis on this, which means there's probably going to be added impacts for you as a seller. If you've kind of got your legs under you here, you got a history with it. We have a post kind of discussing this in more detail on our site about Amazon Live, but I think worth pointing out that, again, even in the context of DSP, it's got a great utility, but even outside of that, there may be knock-on benefits on Amazon itself just by running Amazon Lives. And I think with that, we can get to questions. So I know we ended a little early, which I think is, I don't think anyone has a necessarily problem with that. I think you can have some time back. So I think, you know, let us know again, you know, at any point you can pop in a question here. I think, you know, one thing that maybe we can get into, I see one here, is just, it's, you know, those budget requirements for DSP. I don't know if, Cindy, if you can just spell those out in detail. I know we talked about them kind of at a high level, but if you could just talk through them quickly, I think it'd be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. We have been working very hard here at Takemetrics to make this accessible for everybody. Right, we work with, you know, small advertisers all the way to like the big box advertisers. So the huge breadth. And previously, Amazon had you had to spend $35,000 over 2 months to even test DSP, which is crazy in my eyes just for a test. So we really worked hard to kind of get rid of that barrier to entry. And here at Takemetrics, you can start a DSP campaign for just $5K for 1 month. We do recommend, and it is part of our guidelines, to do a 2-month test. And that is because so your initial investment will be $10,000 over 2 months with a 10% management fee. And we recommend 2 months for a couple different reasons. DSP, just like search, it takes time to ramp up. So those first 2 weeks of the month, we're really gathering data, ramping up, especially if you haven't done DSP before. The second two weeks of that month, we're going in and we're optimizing, pulling our levers, using our best practices. And then that second month is to really understand trends, to see what audiences are performing well, desktop versus mobile, all of that good stuff. So at the end of those 2 months, at the end of that test, we could kind of sum everything up for you and give you a strategy and a proposal for the move forward.
Great, thanks. So this is a question came in from Rev here. We are new to DSP and currently focused on retargeting, successful so far. What would be your advice in terms of like where we should look next to scale up?
Yeah, for sure. That's another thing I think we do really well here at Takemetrics. You know, we've heard a lot of feedback from clients. And again, this is a test. Even $5,000 isn't, you know, a drop in the bucket. It's a pretty substantial investment for an ad product you really know nothing about. So starting with remarketing is perfect. It kind of gets you your feet wet. It gets you a little comfy. You're seeing the ROAS and you're seeing the return happen. DSP is traditionally not a return focused ad product. So I think first and foremost, you know, start with retargeting, but then start getting yourself comfortable with looking at other metrics like detail page view rate, net new customers, new to brand, things like that, engagement rate, because that's how you're really going to grow. So from remarketing, you could do a couple things. If you still want to feel comfortable and see that return, you could always do a loyalty strategy. And what that is getting people to, you know, repurchase or buy other products from your store, etc. So you could focus on loyalty or subscribe and save. If you did want to use, you know, DSP to really grow your audiences, which is what it is mainly for and why we have audiences, I would encourage you to go up the funnel to in-market audiences. So, you know, look at the hierarchy of your products, start thinking about what audiences you want to pull in and go up that way. Or you can do custom, what we call custom and market audiences. So you can either go after your competitors, right? So you know these people are going after similar products to yours, so why not re-engage them with your ad? That's kind of in that mid to lower tier as well. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. But again, you could either go up or down the funnel, but you're going to see more success and more long-term success if you do start trickling up that funnel.
Awesome. Well, I think that was the last question we had, so we can end a little early. So give all of you some time back. Again, to reiterate, you'll be getting a recording of this presentation along with the slide deck, so you can review it. And again, you can always obviously come back to us and ask any questions that you have. And so you're reading that within the next 24 hours. So again, really appreciate everyone here for hopping on the line, and hope to see you again next week. We're going to be going over some kind of a Prime Day recap with a bunch of data that we've collected over the holiday, looking at this on a category by category basis. So stay tuned for that. That'll be next Thursday, and hope to see you all there. And thanks again, Sydney, for hopping on.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.